welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Chrisley Kennedy, and this is the show we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course, we give you insight into what it all means. Joining me, as always, is AMC Movie News Editor-in-Chief, Mr. John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, coming to you live from right here at the Stream.TV studios here in Hollywood, California. We are so glad you decided to make us part of your day.
We also have joining us AMC's Christian Harloff.
AMC Movie Talk, together, strong.
We also have the director of the upcoming film, The Death of Superman Lives. What happened, Mr. John Schnepp?
It's Carlos. Why is he saying those things?
Hi.
Oh, boy.
What the hell was that?
Oh, boy.
It's my horrible Gollum. I loved it.
Okay.
All right, guys, with the third and final Hobbit film hitting AMC theaters this December, attention is now turning to the Hobbit author himself, J.R.R. Tolkien. According to reports, there are two separate films based on the author racing to production. One is simply titled Tolkien, being developed for Fox Searchlight, and the other is being titled Tolkien and Lewis, which will be directed by Simon West, who also directed Expendables 2. The story of Tolkien and Lewis centers on Tolkien's relationship with his University of Oxford colleague, C.S. Lewis, whom Tolkien, a devout Catholic, converted to Christianity. The formerly agnostic Lewis' newfounded faith infused his most popular books, including the Chronicles of Narnia series, while Lewis in turn encouraged Tolkien to finish his Lord of the Rings volumes, which were decades in the making. John, what do you think about films based on J.R.R. Tolkien?
Well, considering I've always kind of thought that the Silmarillion is unshootable. So if you're going to have any more Tolkien stuff, it's probably going to have to be on the life of Tolkien. Yeah. And I think it's fascinating. Now, granted, I'm a little biased because I grew up, I spent a lot of my younger years reading not just a lot of Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, but also about the relationship between the two. It's a cinematic relationship between the two of them. It's funny when I even mentioned to some people about the ties between them. A lot of people didn't even realize C.S. Lewis and Tolkien even knew each other. But it's a fascinating relationship about these two literary giants and how each were kind of, in a way, directly responsible for the other finishing their most notable works. I'm actually really curious. I'm always fascinated by movies like The Social Network or whatever that gives us a peek behind the curtain of this thing we know so well. And in this case, it's Lord of the Rings, it's The Hobbit, it's the Narnia Chronicles, Screw Tape Letters, all that kind of stuff. I'm excited about it, I really am. More so for the C.S. Lewis Tolkien one than I am just for the Tolkien one. But I think it's kind of cool that we've got these things coming out. Christian?
I'm fascinated by both of them. I want to see, it's also cool to see how much we learn from, let's say, the separate Tolkien movie, and then what they don't explore in the Tolkien versus Lewis one.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is the Simon West part of it. Now,
fascinating is an interesting word for it.
I'll tell you why it's fascinating. Because Expendables 2, he did what he was supposed to do in that movie. You can't say, oh, it was a horribly directed movie. That movie's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be silly.
It was a fun movie. I like Expendables 2.
And that's what he did with it. So we don't know how passionate he is about this work, about Tolkien's life. And to me, that is very interesting. That's why I say it's fascinating, because I want to see how much he knows and how much of a fan he is. Because if he's anything as much of a fan as Peter Jackson is, then we might see something really cool to learn more about this guy and about their relationship with Lewis.
I certainly hope that is the case, because when I heard Simon West, I heard like, producers, let's get a guy who can put together an action movie and make it like, Sherlock Holmes. We need that dude on a train and Lewis with a
Lewis
gun.
And Tolkien fighting crime at night in the streets of England.
I just see both of them running with an explosion, and like that gave him the idea for Gollum, like just as horrible as possible is what I heard. So that's why I was like, hopefully you're right. That Simon West's like, I love it. I've known about these guys for years, and this has been my passion project. That's why I did these other action films. That's how he talks.
That's awesome.
So hopefully I would love to see an awesome, real biopic with both of those guys. And it's weird. How come these things always come in twos? Yeah, the movie about volcanoes, earthquakes. Now it's Tolkien.
And let's hope at least one of them's good.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
You guys have me struggling to keep a straight face with me here today. All right, already struggling with its public perception, the upcoming Fantastic Four took another PR hit on the web yesterday when star of the film Kate Mara revealed that, 1, she's never read a comic book, 2, director Josh Trank told her not to bother reading any, and 3, that Trank informed her that the movie was not going to be based on anything already published in the comic book. Christian, how big of a deal are Mara's comments?
I feel you guys are going to disagree with me, but I think it's a very big deal. I think that this stinks. I think it stinks. And I'll tell you what. I like Josh Trank a lot. I'm a big fan. I have not been against this movie. I've been very excited for this movie. I love the casting of it. I want to see what's going to happen. I want to see a Fantastic Four movie. There's also rumors they're not going to call them the Fantastic Four. Then why make a Fantastic Four movie? Make Chronicle 2. Like, so for me, I want to see the Fantastic Four movie. I want to see the origin. And yes, read a comic book, even if it's not the storylines that are going to be in there. Learn about the character you're playing and why people have fallen in love with it. That's the whole point of the Fantastic Four, is that we want to see a movie that was, Tim Story destroyed it. He destroyed it. And so now we finally get a cool version because Trank's a great and capable director, and I want to see his vision. But to not call it Fantastic Four, the characters, this stinks.
I am not bothered by these comments at all, and there's a couple of reasons. One, I don't buy the rumor that they're not going to call them the Fantastic Four. But getting back to this, I mean, there have been a lot of characters. I mean, even look at the dude who played Dumbledore, whose name is escaping me right now. Even he said, never read the books, didn't want to read the books. Even when I got the role, didn't want to read the books because I didn't want my interpretation of the character to interfere with the director's vision of it was. So I get that. I mean, Michael Fassbender, we know, has never played Assassin's Creed, and yet we're all excited that he's doing that. Look, this movie, I've said this from the beginning, could end up being a giant pile of human waste, right? I mean, just awful. It could be terrible. And I'm not all for, I've very publicly, I've been against the whole idea of the Fantastic Four babies as opposed to a more seasoned group. But that being said, Kimber just gave us X-Men, which was amazing, incredible. I love Josh Trank. I really like all this cast. And so I really don't have a problem with it. And the biggest argument to me about why I don't have a problem with this in particular is, tell me which issue of Batman Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight was based on. None. It was a story he created for the movie, for the screen. And so really in that context, what Mara is saying is really rather harmless. But here's the other thing to keep in mind, all right? Who's going to get upset by this? These legions of people who pseudo-claim to be avid fans of Fantastic Four and read it every single month? Pop quiz, hotshot. Here we go. Is Fantastic Four, I'm going to assume you guys haven't looked this up, and I cheated, I looked it up. Is Fantastic Four in the top 5 of comic book sales?
I will say it's not even the top 100.
It is in the top 100, oddly enough. It is number 65. Wow. It is number 65. 33,000 people bought it, which means more people watch AMC Movie Talk than read the Fantastic Four. Put that in perspective for a second, right? So I just don't see what the big deal here is. Like, I understand if you decide to take her comments as we're completely throwing away the history of Fantastic Four.
What I took out of it.
See, and all I took out of it was this isn't based on anything that's been published. But then again, now there was Nolan's Dark Knight. It's not a big deal yet, but it could be.
That's what I took out of it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's a big deal. It's totally different. I maybe I know that it's totally different, but I'm also confident with Josh Trank's direction of it, and I think it's going to be a really cool film. It's definitely going to be better than both of the first two Fantastic Four movies combined with the Corman one. So it's like, it's going to be, but it's going to be a different origin, and it doesn't bother me when an actor or actress says that I didn't read the source material, I didn't see the play, or I didn't read the comic, or I didn't read the book. It doesn't bother me that much, and that her further comments, if you read the whole article, she's talking about, I'm just going to play it really naturally, and the whole film has a different take. It's not goofy, it's not a farce, it's not like, hey, what's happening? Just stumbling, tripping with their face in a pie, or it's not jokey. It's deadly serious. It's got that same vibe that Chronicle had. So I'm really cautiously optimistic about really digging it, everything I've heard about it so far, even though originally when I heard about it, I hated it because the origin is not the same. Everything is different. As long as Dr. Doom doesn't have electrical powers and there's not Galactus as a cloud, because otherwise I'm coming for you.
Well, sorry, just real quick. I think it's still gonna be a pretty cool movie. I just wanted for them to, if you're gonna make a Fantastic Four movie, I do want to see them take elements from certain storylines. I'm
sure there will be elements.
But that's it's just, the way I read it was like, don't worry about it. You don't really have to know anything about it. We're just doing our own thing here.
But if you're right, and what she was actually saying is, we're taking nothing from the comic book. See, I read it. I didn't take it. I took it as like X-Men Days of Future Past is taken from the X-Men Days of Future Past story. I took it as her saying, like, there's none of that type of connection. There's
I'm
no
okay with
direct
that.
thing.
I'm okay with that, but
and I am equally as upset if your interpretation is right.
But it also
equally
depends
as
on
upset.
how you hear her saying, I don't read comics. Or she's like, I just haven't read a comic. So Mara, read some comics. I'll send them to you. I'll teach you which good comics you should read. But, honestly, a lot of people have gone through their entire life, like, never read a comic. I mean, it's not like they hate on him.
It does have Koba as Dr. Doom, so I'm in for that.
Oh, and she did say, look, I haven't read a comic, but I'm a big fan of comic book movies.
Right. Yeah.
Hopefully not the Tim Story ones. All right. Okay, folks, we've reached that part of the show for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Chris Lee's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. And then Schnepp, Christian, me, and all of you at home are going to say whether we buy it or sell. But before we get to the first buy and sell, I should mention this because a lot of people are running this in the Twitter stream, and we kind of talked about this behind things. People ask me, wait a minute, why are you guys not talking about the Ultron cover?
Yeah.
I'll tell you why I didn't make it a story. Honestly, I got really excited when they said, the first look at Ultron, and Schnepp and I were talking about this in the elevator on the way up. The first look at Ultron, I was all excited and I clicked on it. It's an artist drawing. I thought it was actually a picture from the set, and we were going to see Robert Downey Jr. in his Iron Man outfit. We're going to see Thor there, whatever, and the actual physical Ultron standing there. It's a drawing. I'm like, so I was not impressed
It's a
yet.
pretty good Photoshop job.
It's
That's
a
when I
great
look at
piece
it,
of art.
Yeah.
I think it looks cool. I looked at it and I went, cool. And I went up thinking about what I was thinking about before.
It's like, oh yeah, cool picture. Okay.
Ultron looks cool.
He looks
and
cool.
then John noticed, because I was like, I don't know if that's going to be Ultron. I think he's going to look like some kind of Spader Tron thing. And John was like, well, look, he's got red eyes, and then all the ones in the back have the blue eyes, so those are his minions. So I was like, all right, then that must be Ultron.
It's just a prep to get you ready for a big announcement that's coming up. Because once Comic-Con hits, everyone's going to start hearing
They're
about...
going to drop so much stuff at Comic-Con.
Big stuff. So it's just to like, hey, get ready. That's all that picture was.
You know what I heard a little whisper of? Remember one of the best moments of Comic-Con last year was Tom Hiddleston came on stage as Loki, and I'm burdened with glorious purpose. I freaking love
so
that
good.
line. There is some whispers that Ultron's going to come walking out on stage. They're going to have somebody in the Ultron outfit. I don't know that that's true. I do not know that that's true. I'm just saying I've heard a couple of whispers. It would be interesting if they did that.
That's good.
All right, now let's get on to the buy or sell.
All right, the first trailer for the upcoming Disney animated film Big Hero 6 has hit the web. Big Hero 6 is an action comedy adventure about brilliant robotics prodigy Hiro Hamada, who finds himself in the grips of a criminal plot that threatens to destroy the fast-paced, high-tech city of San Francisco. With the help of his closest companion, a robot named Baymax, Hiro joins forces with a reluctant team of first-time crime fighters on a mission to save their city. I'm excited about this one. Schnepp, do you buy or sell the Big Hero 6 trailer?
Finally, a cosplay that I could dress up as.
The kid?
No, the robot.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Kabuki mask guy.
I was talking about the Kabuki. Anyway, yeah, I buy the trailer. I think it's great. We were just watching it laughing. So it's a lot of fun. Our question, basically my question, then Christian's question was like, where are the other 5? But then John was like, no, or you were.
Yeah, I saw it at D23. They are going to do. This is just first trailer, so you'll see more of the 6, I guess, throughout it. But I'm with you. I buy this trailer. I loved it.
I buy it. It was cute. I mean, look, I'm not blown away by it yet, but it was certainly cute. I think I'm going to like Baymax a lot. When his whole running out of, he gets drunk when his battery runs low for some reason. Okay, we jumped out a window. Like that was pretty funny. So you've got me for now. Yeah, for me it's a buy.
The I am slow. But that whole thing, and you know what it is they have Wreck-It Ralph, Frozen, and they're riding on a good high right now, and this looks like it's going to continue that fun tone.
Yeah, agreed. All right, what's next?
As many of you know, Lionsgate is developing a live-action Mighty Morphin Power Rangers film, and it looks like they're getting their creative team together. According to reports, Lionsgate have tapped X-Men First Class writers Ashley Miller and Zach Stentz to pen the script and has brought Roberto Orci from Spider-Man 2 and Transformers on board as the executive producer. John, buy or sell this creative team for Power Rangers?
Oh man, it so depends. For now, I'm going to very cautiously give it a buy. I mean, like I said before, in principle, I think a Power Rangers movie is a really stupid idea, and I think they're going to suffer for it. But we also said that, hey, you know what? If they take kind of a catching fire kind of approach to it, if they kind of abandon the 80s style cartoon putties, replace those with a darker, serious, not that everything has to be dark and serious, but if you go in a different direction with Power Rangers and make them more of a Hunger Games kind of feel, a little bit darker, a little bit more serious, don't have putties as your big guy, whatever, there are possibilities there. Suddenly there are possibilities. Bringing on the screenwriters from X-Men First Class is certainly a step in the right direction. So I can't help but say, I gotta buy it. Jeanette?
I'm gonna sell it. I mean, here's my reason for selling it. Like, been doing a lot of these Comic-Cons, the conventions recently. There are lines around the block for the old Power Rangers. There's still this fervor for what we know as the old Power Rangers, you know, all the jumping around and fighting the, you know, rubber monsters and stuff. That's what people are into, and that's that nostalgia. So I don't know if like rebranding it, like what you're talking about, which either they go one way or the other. If they go with doing the old Power Rangers but updating them a little bit, but keeping that cheesy camp aspect, then I would buy it. But if they go the way you're talking about, I'd sell it just because it's going to be at a loss. It's not going to get the nostalgic people. Like at least Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is right in the middle, even like closer to the original Turtles than people thought. What, they're going to be from outer space? Haha, no, they're not. They eat pizza, they jump around, they just have weird. Their faces are a little weirder.
Yeah.
But you know, it's basically the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's nothing new. It's just better graphics and a new story. You know, more blades from Shredder. So,
Christian?
I'm gonna sell it until I get a trailer for it.
Yeah.
But I think that I'd more like to see your version of it as well. And that's because I wasn't a Power Rangers fan, and I know that there's a huge audience for it. And Schnepp, you might be 100% right. That's the version that they want to see. But for me, my personal taste is I'd rather see something. If you're going to get the First Class writers, then give me a story to where I was just as emotionally involved as I was in First Class. And then we can see what we can do with new effects, and maybe you can bring in a whole new generation of fans because you're taking it in that approach. But it just doesn't excite me yet. When I see a trailer and when I hear who the director is, then I'll start to get.
That'll tell us a lot about the tone once we hear who the director is.
But you're right. I mean, it's like such a weird thing. I personally would like to see a different take on Power Rangers, but they're going to keep that spandex. You know what I mean?
I don't think they will, because I mean, this whole idea about the big long lineups of the Comic-Cons and all this kind of stuff, that's great. But like the biggest line, I remember, was it last year or 2 years ago when they did the Serenity Firefly reunion thing? That might have been the most nutty panel, aside from what was going on panel in Hall H, but they packed out Ballroom 20. You had all these brown coats dressed up, cosplay, blah, 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 but nobody went to go see the movie when it came out. It just doesn't really, it's like all nerds out there who are into Firefly like me and us, we are attracted like moths to a flame when that event happens, but we still pretty much represent all of us almost, you know? It's kind of unfortunate.
You bring up the thing about how they might be in spandex. They might, remember X-Men, when X-Men came out in 2000, they made a joke about not wearing the yellow because it wasn't gonna play. So they changed it up because they wanted to, but they're in the black suits, that's cooler, you know, so who knows what they're gonna do.
Maybe all the Morphin Rangers are all being like black leather.
I hope they don't go that far. Even I hope they don't go that far. Oh, good. Hey, folks, listen, before we get to mailbag, I just want to let you know, we have this great clip from the upcoming Zach Braff film, Wish I Was Here. However, we weren't able to get it queued up for you guys in time. So we're going to show this clip to you tomorrow, so keep your eye open for that. It's going to be an exclusive clip, once again, from Wish I Was Here, Zach Braff, which is opening in limited release in AMC theaters this week. So keep your eye open for that for tomorrow. But for now, it's time for us to get to mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, we're also going to leave a couple of minutes at the end of the show for your guys' live Twitter questions, and you can start tweeting those in at AMC Movie News. But for now, let's get to the mailbag questions. Chrisley, what do we got?
Rob writes, hey AMC Movie family, I was wondering if there will ever be any more Greek mythological movies. Clash of the Titans was mediocre at best, but I would love to see it done better. Have a good day and bring on the filthy.
At best is generous.
Yeah.
Those Titan movies were awful.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to Sam Worthington just before the second one came out, and he was so refreshingly honest. He said, I asked you, so why come back to do it? He goes, honestly, because we owe it to the fans to make up for the first one. And then the second one was worse.
Yeah, it was worse.
Yeah.
You owe it to the
worse.
fans to
Yeah.
what?
But I will say, look, we got Hercules is coming out with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. We will always have these Greek mythology movies. Why? Because they're big and visual in nature. They're non-copyrightable, so they're always going to be there for studios to draw on and use if they want. There's a huge, rich mythology behind all of them with these characters and names that everybody recognizes. There will always be these movies because they're just easy to do.
I want to see a God of War movie. I've been waiting for so
Yeah.
long because you can put all of that stuff. I cannot wait. I know there was rumors for it for a long time. You can take all the Greek mythology and throw it in there. You can do so much more. And even when you do a movie like, say, when Troy came out, you throw that stuff in there. So I hope so. I love it, and I think you're right. For forever, if the question's forever, yeah, we're going to see a ton of them.
Yeah.
Right. I'd like to see a movie where Zeus just shows up now in 2014. People are like, what? It's like, I've always been here, son. Bring on the gods, and then it's humans versus gods. We're like, no, we're not going to bow down to you shooting. That'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
Hugh
Get on it,
Jackman.
Emmerich.
I'd watch it.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Ben James writes, recently a buddy of mine told me that they were turning their beloved character and favorite of mine into a woman, Thor. I thought they were just doing a comic series if Thor was a woman, but then I went to the Marvel website where they are saying it's going to be permanent. I personally am outraged. It goes against everything Thor is based on. It's disgraceful to the Norse mythology. I do see that they want more women roles, but why not make a new character? And how will this affect the movie universe? Are they going to get rid of Chris Hemsworth?
That's the big question: is how does this affect the movie universe? I put when I first heard about the switch, I put on my Twitter. Maybe it was a little bit raw because I just heard it and I instantly tweeted and I said, "This move by Marvel reeks of desperation, and it's pathetic." And I do think it's pathetic. I think, look, we need, and I think we all agree, we need more strong female characters in comic books. We just need them. We got to have more than Black Widow and Wonder Woman. And if you're having trouble getting the existing female characters to really stand out, then you have the world of creative talent at your fingertips. Create new female characters that people can get behind. Don't take the Norse god Thor. Thor, last time I checked, Thor ain't a title. That's the dude's name. That is his name. You don't get to pick up the hammer. Beta Ray, didn't suddenly become Thor. No, he wielded the hammer. I'm outraged by this, but who cares? That's the side point. The big question really is, how does this affect the movie universe? How does this affect the Chris Hemsworth stuff? I don't think it will at all. I don't think Marvel is going to cross this up. I think, we've got our Thor in the movies. He's been Thor for however many decades in the comic book world. He's going to stay that for the movies. And I'm not going to say what I was going to say next because I know you're going to say it. So anyway, Schnepp, what do you think about all this?
I don't know if I'm going to say it now. I think it's great, honestly. It doesn't bother me because, Thor was a frog in the comic books. If you remember, go back into read your history books. Like in the late 90s, Thor became a frog for about 10 issues.
But they're saying this is it now.
No, it's not.
They're saying this is permanent. This is what I didn't say because I knew you were going to.
Last year, now he's back.
Yeah.
It's all a lie. But so what? It's like Marvel is laughing. They're all laughing behind closed doors. I can't believe they're making such a big deal, but it worked. It's like the Superman got killed. They're like, no, he's really going to be dead. He was dead for a year. They had 4 new dudes show up in different outfits.
So you just
and then he
flat
came
out
back.
believe they're lying when they say this is permanent.
I'm not saying when they say it's permanent, I believe they are lying because nothing is permanent in any comic book as far as death is concerned. Nobody dies.
How do you see this affecting the movie universe?
It's not going to affect the movie universe in one iota at all. The only thing it affects is a Thor 4. Instead of going with Beta Ray Bill, they might say he fights a woman or a woman is worthy to hold the hammer. They'll still call it Thor, but her name will be whatever her name is. Greta. The mighty Greta, or whatever, it's still going to be called Thor because she holds the hammer of Thor. She is now Odin's son, the magic meow meow or whatever. But yeah, it's not going to affect the movies at all. I think it's a great gimmick. I saw what the new Thor looks like. She looks badass. I was like, hey, it was
a cool concept.
I might even buy the new Thor. You got me, Marvel. I'm going to probably buy it. I will because I was like, I want to check it out and see how they're going to do it different. So,
and let's say if Thor is struggling, number 55 on the comic charts.
That's all I'm saying.
About 36,000
Every comic
issues.
is struggling, so you can't really be mad at comic book publishers for trying to reinvigorate a character that's been around for 30 years. They've told every story. Ragnarok's happened 8 times. Beta Ray Bill's come back 1 million times. Sif, everybody, they got to regenerate it in some way. So, hey, if this gets people interested, whether it's positive or negative, it's any press is good publicity press. So I'm all for it.
You got to change Beta Ray Bill's name. It sounds like I can get him at Radio Shack or something. But look, to go to your point, as far as Thor didn't become Thor, Thor didn't, someone didn't hand it over. He was Thor. To the Dread Pirate Roberts, there was one, and then he handed it off.
Right.
So if that's the case, if Thor is handing it off, and that's what they're going to do, I actually dig it. I like it. I think that, and Joss Whedon tweeted out yesterday about, this is an hour. This could never work, right? And then he tweeted out a picture of Katie Sackhoff as Starbuck. People went nuts when she was going to be Starbuck, and that worked out well. So I actually really like it. I want to see if they do the Dread Pirate Roberts angle of it all, and we'll see if she's cool. And this goes to the point of, does it affect Marvel movies? If it's a popular angle, then it might. Because down the line, if people love this and it works out for the best, and then everyone who was against it loves it, this character really worked out, this female Thor's awesome, then they're going to want to bring her into the movies. Right. But if it doesn't play out, they don't have to use her. They just use Hemsworth for as long as they have.
Yeah, if Hemsworth wants a break, he's like, look, I'd like a year off. It's like, go do whatever your God stuff does on normal days. Get a new person.
All right, what's next?
Kenny Drew writes, hello AMC crew, I love the show. You always make my day better. With Christian Bale playing Moses in the upcoming Exodus Gods and Kings, do you think it is possible he could also play the role of Judah in the Ben-Hur remake, much like Charlton Heston? It would be a real challenge to take on two such iconic characters, and he does prefer challenging roles. Could you see Bale as Ben-Hur?
I wouldn't put money on it, but look, right now, you get a guy like Christian Bale, and we know at this point in his career, Christian Bale is starting to think about legacy, his legacy, and where he's going to be placed in the discussions of greatest actors of all time. Is he in that discussion yet? No, but is he heading in that direction? Absolutely he is. And he's already thinking in that scale. He's thinking about where he's going to be placed when people are talking about him 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now. The concept of doing the double-double, of doing one of Charlton Heston's most iconic roles in Moses, and we'll see how people accept it. We'll see if that movie's any good or not. But then to double down on that and now play Judah Ben-Hur in Ben-Hur, that would be legendary. If he was able to play both of those and knock them both out of the park, that becomes something kind of special, I think. Now he's in the conversation with Charlton Heston when you're talking about these classic movies. That would be pretty cool. Once again, if I had to put money on it, I wouldn't at this point. But it is a really interesting question. What do you think, Christian?
It's a fantasy, and it's cool and it's fun. I just don't think it's going to happen just for the way things were back then. It's like, can we get Charlton Heston? Yeah, can we get him for everything? Get him for whatever he wants to do. And then because there was only like a handful, there's so much huge talent out there now. Not that there wasn't back then, but you know what I mean. There's more in the public eye, and there's more to choose from. And I think that the roles that are going to be offered to, I don't see him playing Ben-Hur also. I just don't see it happening. Would it be cool? Absolutely. That'd be a lot of fun. I think your points are dead on to see him be able to. He's one of my favorite actors out there. To see him moving up the ladder and to do both of those roles and knock him out of the park would be great. I just don't see it happening.
What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, also the internet didn't exist when
That's right,
Charlton.
yeah.
We're like a global, movie universe now. So yeah, I think it would be weird to see him as Ben-Hur. I would love to see another one of the amazing thousands of actors available to be Ben-Hur. But like you said, it's an interesting thing as far as like in 100 years they were like, yes, these two people both played Moses and Ben-Hur. It's like a weird little factoid. I mean, no one's going to replace Charlton Heston as you damn dirty apes. And get him in a Planet of the Apes movie, maybe.
All right, folks, well, we said we'd leave a little bit of time at the end of the show for your live Twitter questions, and we're going to do that right now. You might have time to sneak one in under the wire. Tweet to us at AMC Movie News. Chris Lee is our gatekeeper. So, Chris Lee, what have you picked out?
Frank Foster wants to know if you guys think trailers nowadays give away too much plot.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
I do.
Okay, what's next?
That's it? That quick? You're just going to go right through it?
Super quick.
Macaroni. Will Harmon wants to know, with the supernatural aspect of the Marvel Universe being introduced, could we see the return of Blade?
No, I don't see Blade fitting into this very PG, certain type of toned, family kind of stuff. We've talked about that before. I just don't think he will.
I think you'll see him pop up in the Netflix universe in Marvel.
I agree with that. Yeah, I do.
I would love to see like a Sons of Vengeance or whatever as a television series with him and Mobius and Swamp or Man Thing. To get all the guys there. You know what I said? All those freaking guys.
What's next?
Michael Nolan wants to know, will there ever be an Excalibur remake or reboot?
Yep. Yeah, there will be. I mean, it's just one of those titles. Once again, it's iconic. It's ripe to be done. It'll come at some point.
Oh, they've been working on it for a bit, and when it comes, I will be there, ready to go. I cannot wait for an Excalibur.
Are you guys talking about the one with Captain Britain and Nightcrawler? That Excalibur? Because that's what I thought. Whoa!
Arthur!
No one will replace John Borman. I don't know.
All right, what's next?
Brad Ass TV says, with Entourage coming, are there any other TV shows that you think deserve a movie?
I honestly can't really think of any off the top of my head. Generally speaking, I don't think TV shows lend themselves to being decent movies. In general, that doesn't mean there aren't exceptions.
Maybe Dexter, so they can make up for what they did in that finale.
Yeah, I wasn't happy with that finale at all.
Greatest American Hero. As a movie.
That's good.
That would be fun.
That's a story that didn't really lend itself well as a TV show.
Yeah,
that probably
right.
would have been better just as a movie. Yeah, good example. Okay, what's next?
I think Ray Donovan, too. I know it's new and it's only in its second season, but that could go into a movie as well if you guys watch that. Corey Lee Bean says, could we see an Ultimate Warrior biopic? I think it would be interesting, especially what went down with him in the WWE.
Considering that we haven't really seen any biopics based on any professional wrestlers, and Warrior was a little off center. I think that's a good way. I think it's a good way to put it. He was a little bit off center. I don't know that you could actually build a compelling biopic around him. I'd be really fascinated to see a documentary on him. I don't know about a biopic.
What would be fantastic though, now that we're talking about wrestling, it would be great to go into this like the 70s and just cover all of the wrestlers like the Iron Sheik and all, just do a little biopic of like wrestling at that point, because it was really a weird time for wrestling. Everybody was
There's
cutting
two
themselves,
eras of wrestling, and as
juicing,
somebody who worked for the WWE, you tell me what you think of. I believe there's two eras of wrestling. There's pre-WrestleMania and there's post-WrestleMania.
Yes.
WrestleMania just changed everything about. Anyway, Christian, you're most qualified to speak to this.
I would love to see a Jim Hellwig Warrior movie. When the heavens and above. The guy talked nonsense. I love it.
It was all gibberish.
But he was electric. He was electric. Everything he did. When I did work there, at the time I worked there, he was not liked at that place at all. And then
was there ever a time he was really like
when
that?
he came back and got inducted into the Hall of Fame, they had mended. He did this whole speech, and then like 2 days later passed away.
24 hours.
24
hours later, he died.
Passed away.
It's crazy.
It's a fascinating story, and the fact Hulk Hogan was the guy. He was the guy. This was the guy who took the title from him, regardless of one little thing beforehand. But this was they weren't going to pass it off, and it didn't go down the way they wanted it to because of everything that happened there. It's very interesting to me. I'd like to see it happen.
All right, last question of the day.
Natalia wants to know if you think Avatar 2 and 3 will have the same success as the first one did.
No. But don't take that as a slam. I mean, the success that the first Avatar had is insane. You don't need to have the same success as the first Avatar. But the fact of the matter is, I do believe for a lot of people that initial novelty is off. This is my argument about Avatar all the time. Is that when you get certain movies, you get Lord of the Rings, people still, every Halloween, you see people dressed up as elves or hobbits or whatever.
Yeah.
Star Wars, you still see people dressing up as Jedis and whatever, and all that kind of stuff. It is fascinating to me, considering how big Avatar was, that it kind of disappeared from the social consciousness. I think in the last 3 years, I've seen one Avatar costume. And that first year, like every third person you saw out in the streets or around Vegas at Halloween time was Avatar, and then it just disappeared. So
I could speak to that just from a branding perspective. Avatar is just such a fresh new thing. Like I'm seeing so many people put the blue paint all over their body to be Nightcrawler, to be the Beast, to be Mystique. But those are properties that have been around for 30 years. People have grown up with Mystique. People have grown up. Avatar is so fresh and new, and then they didn't come out with a sequel quickly enough. They're doing 2, 3, and 4 all back to back, and those will be spread out, I guess, over a year each. So once there's a more of a rich mythology that younger people can like grow into, and then people like us who've already seen Avatar is like, oh, what are they going to do next? That's why I think that
Heath Ledger's Joker was only in one movie, and we still see him.
But he
dressed up.
But he's the Joker,
and he passed
the
away.
Joker.
And
There's a lot of but there's other asterisks to that.
You made a great point, Schnepp, and also I think that it has become cool to hate on Avatar a little bit as well too. So I think that's another reason that people are kind of not doing it as much. But I do think once you develop this mythology, as you said, you're going to see it pop up more, the costumes and whatnot. I don't think it'll do as well financially, but I think James Cameron and his team have a great opportunity here to further on the story and not get the comparisons to Fern Gully and Dances with Wolves and all that stuff, doing their own original story and create the world to make it now. People are like, oh, okay, I didn't like Avatar as much the first one, but these new ones, I can't deny it, they're awesome. It's a very good possibility. It's James Cameron we're talking about.
Oh yeah, and he's director of my all-time, still my favorite action movie of all time.
T2?
True Lies.
True Lies.
True Lies is actually my favorite action film of all time. All right, folks, that'll do it for us. Thanks so much for joining us today for this episode of AMC Movie Talk. Don't forget, lots of great films playing in AMC theaters everywhere right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all your theater, showtime, and your movie ticket information. If you want an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video, and you'll find links to our podcast feed, so you can listen to us on the way to work or at the gym or wherever. And don't forget, click the thumbs up button, click the subscribe button, and I want to thank the guys sitting at the table with me. Of course, all of us can be at Comic-Con next week. Sitting to my right, first of all, Mr. Christian Harloff. Christian, where can people find you online?
At Christian Harloff, I'll be campaigning for a Randy Savage movie. Bone size, Randy!
Jake the Snake Roberts.
Snap into a Slim Jim. Ooh, yeah.
Still my favorite all-time WWE wrestling match, WrestleMania. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat versus Randy Moss from the Savage. Best ever. Okay, Mr. John Schnepp.
I want to say I had the honor of editing that episode of Space Ghost with him getting hit by the chair.
Really?
Zorak. Yeah, I added
awesome.
a bunch of extra hits.
So awesome.
With him, he played Space Ghost grandpa or his
Yeah,
dad.
he's-
Yeah, was like,
I think it was his grandfather, wasn't
Yeah, I
it?
think it was his grandpa. I can't remember. But at
I just love the way he lifts his arm. Ooh, yeah. That's his
Space Ghost!
at Twitter, Instagram, John Schnepp, and at TDOSLWH. That's where you can find me.
And of course, our host today, Miss Chrisley Kennedy. Chrisley, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on all social media at Chrisley.
And you can find me on the various social media networks just at John Campia. Thanks a lot for joining me, guys. My name's John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until next time, bye-bye.
Hey everyone, if you liked this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.